is Jan Roberts with a speech entitled My First Driving Lesson. So with a speech entitled My First Driving Lesson, Jan Roberts.
Has anybody here ever been curious? I'm not in good company. I'm going to start with a quote by Michael J. Fox. He said, "Curiosity might have killed the cat, but it certainly saved my ass." Now, the reason I'm going to use a slightly extended one because both parts apply to what I'm going to tell you next, in that order. As a little kid, I used to be mesmerized by electricity. And I was only about 3-4 years old, and you know, I loved this when you hit a switch and there the light went on. Or you had a plug, and in Holland, I was still in Holland at the time, we had round plugs, two round pins. So you put a plug in, and there the Hoover starts. Or you put another plug in, and there the record player starts. Just shows you how long ago that was. But you know, I thought, well, one afternoon I went to my dad's shop. We lived above the shop, and I went to the back of the shop. It was a music shop. They sold records and record players. So that, you know, it is a while. And I wandered into the little workshop in the back, and I found myself 2 3-inch nails. I knew what I was going to do with them. You know, curious as I was. So I took them into the back of the shop and sat in front of a socket, and I grabbed one of the nails and put them in there. Well, you know where this is going, and yes, I did. But I put the other nail in there. Nothing happened. I thought, you know, every time I do something there with electricity, something there happens. So I thought, if it's not going to work, I might as well take them out. So I took them both out at the same time. Everything went dark. Including me. I shot back about 2 yards across the room. Then I got this thing, if, you know, something happened there, and I shot back 2 yards, and I never knew that was going to happen. But I tell you something, I never did that again. So afterwards, I got this understanding, this respect for electricity, like me and my bank manager. But around about the same time, I also got my first driving lesson. I was 3 years old. And I also went on errands with my dad. And he used to go into buildings, and I sat eagerly waiting in the car, waiting for his return, so we could drive to the next one, because I loved being in the car. On this particular day, my dad had to park on a hill, and he had to go into his shop. Now, I don't know if he told me not to touch anything, but as soon as he was out of sight, I climbed into the driver's seat, I sat myself down, moved a few levers, touched a few buttons, and then I found the horn. People were waving to me, and I was waving back, and things were getting good! Until I discovered what I later found out to be was the handbrake. Now, to be fair, I didn't know what it was because I was only little. Oh yes, I was little once, even though when people asked me, "Have you always been this tall?" I said, "Yes, I was born over 2 days, my poor mother." But I was struggling with this handbrake, but I knew it was possible because my dad had used it so often. So I needed to use both my little hands, as you can see, it's a left-hand drive, both my little hands, and all the force I could master, I managed to release the sucker. The car started running downhill, and people now started waving with both hands and jumping up and down. But I waved only back quickly because I had to concentrate because I was driving. At the bottom of that hill, there was a T-junction, which was getting nearer by the second. And I would have shot right across that, but thank goodness a rather new Volkswagen Beetle was standing right in its path, and it stopped my dad's car. The Beetle got squashed, and I was a bit shaken. But not half as shaken as my dad when he came back to the car, or when it used to be. And people were frantically pointing down the hill, and my dad ran after. He got a sigh of relief. He saw me standing there beside the car, unharmed and surrounded by all my fans, so obviously because I was driving. Well, we ended up in the police station, and I stood there with my little clogs on thinking, I am sure they want to know how I managed to avert imminent danger by staring right into that car, and suddenly the deep voice of a tall policeman got me back to reality. "Now, young man, in your own words, can you tell me, how did you manage to crash your daddy's car?" And I looked him up and down when I was taller than that, before I started telling him about my exciting trip. And you know they liked it, because I seen them giving my dad a letter of commendation, and I could see on my dad's face he was impressed. In fact, he got his wallet out, and that doesn't happen very often. and he felt compelled to pay these people some money for it. Now, I need to tell you, I learned a lesson that day, that we can make our own choices, but all choices have got consequences. And that's where that second part comes in. Some worse than others. But, you know, that doesn't mean that you should never make any, be curious, because kids are naturally curious. But as adults as well, we need to stay curious. Because as adults, to make mistakes, we're going to do that anyway. Only people who don't make any mistakes are the people who are in a graveyard somewhere, and they probably wish they had. But mistakes is what gives us life's precious experiences, whether we like it or not. And sometimes they work out better. There's a book by John Maxwell that says, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. And I learn a lot. But never got electricity again, strangely enough. But today, I would like to appeal to all parents here. And I would like to ask them, when your son or daughter comes back and tells you that they kind of damaged the family car, of course your immediate attention will be to their health and well-being. But after that, I would like to say, please go easy on them. Because you have to remember, if at any point they were as curious as I've been, that could have happened a long time ago.